Howdy folks, I'm Dan Gross and welcome to this brand new episode of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight, Rochester's premier music and interview show. We're here at Bop Shop Records, our home for Season 4, also Seasons 3 and 2, so we're very happy to be here and to be back here. Joining us today is Tart Vandelay, and we're sitting here with Marty and Katie. Guys, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
This episode is brought to you by Bernunzio Uptown Music, Bop Shop Records, and Row Photo. Bernunzio Uptown Music, located in Rochester's East End, has been providing Rochester and the world with quality vintage, new, and used string instruments since 1976. Bernunzio also offers concerts, workshops, and jam sessions. This season we're in this warm, local, and creative space, Bop Shop Records. Located right outside the city at 1460 Monroe Avenue, Bop Shop Records is your Rochester home for blues, classic rock, jazz, and Americana roots music in vinyl for the past 35 years. Row Photo is your one-stop shop for photo, home theater installation, audio, and accessory needs. For 3 generations since 1898, Row Photo is there for you with second-to-none customer service. Stop by Row Photo's 2 convenient locations today.
So, I was double booked, but I got here on time, so it wasn't as crazy as I thought it would be. Sounds good. Sound checks sounding tight, so I'm looking forward to picking your guys' brains a little bit. So, each one of you, can you tell us how you got started in music? Your sort of early days in music.
So for me, I mean, it just runs in my family. You know, I was just raised on the piano, and we were always singing in my family. And then throughout just all of grade school, I was in choir, and I actually saxophone was my first instrument. I played in band. And
you sound so excited about that.
Well, I stopped playing that one, but I really fell in love with singing. So, and then I ended up going to college for it. I went to MCC and then Fredonia and then Berkeley out in Boston. All different variations, but studying music nonetheless.
Were you a contemporary music major, or did you go for classical voice?
So at first I went for classical voice. Yep, I have about 10 years of professional training in classical voice. And then when I transferred to Berkeley, I decided, I don't know if I want to do classical. I want to write more pop music. And so I studied songwriting at Berkeley. That was a lot of fun.
So we'll come back around to the songwriting bit of this a little bit. But Marty, can you tell us how you got started in music?
Sure, yeah. So pretty much just watching the Beatles in front of the TV. Growing up, my dad is a huge Beatles fan, and that's really my earliest musical memories, and certainly I'm sure what gave me the impetus to start. So I did drums for a couple years in elementary school.
Were you trying to be Ringo? Did you have were you trying to play lefty on a right-handed kid or something?
I think I was trying to play guitar but with drumsticks, because I always was drumming to the guitar lines instead of the actual drum beats. But so eventually I got on guitar when I was a teenager. Cool. And eventually similar path to Kate, where I did classical at MCC and more contemporary stuff at Berkeley.
Yeah.
So
cool. Now, Katie mentioned you went to school for songwriting.
Yes.
So for both of you, before this project, were both of you doing songwriting projects before this, and your sort of own experiments in songwriting, or is this sort of your first time to flex the muscles?
Good question. I did a little bit of just solo songwriting, kind of light singer-songwriter on the ukulele. I did a lot of that in college when I was studying, but our project is probably the first one that I've actually applied to outside of school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't study songwriting at Berkeley. I was more just studying some business and harmony and other things, but I had always felt like I was happy with the guitar lines I'd come up with, and that's where my songwriting would hit a wall.
Right.
So it really was just a nice compliment that, I was always writing stuff on guitar, but felt like I could never write the vocals for it, even though I could imagine what I wanted them to sound like. And the first time she started putting lyrics over some of the guitar lines I'd come up with, it was just, that's what I wanted. That's what I had in mind, but couldn't write. So it was really great.
When did you guys first start playing together and working together?
So it kind of happened slowly over time. I think we started dating in 2011, so a couple years in, we were playing a covers band. Some other people had going, and then within a year we tried to write together, but it wasn't that I do one thing, you do another. It was face to face, and we didn't try it again after a while.
It was just tough to get a lot done,
Right.
Yeah. So a year later, we were in Boston, and that's when we first kind of traded off songwriting, and so it took a few years.
Was that duo at the time sort of the beginning of Tart Vandelay, or was that stuff different from what you're doing now?
That was the beginning, yep.
Yeah.
Actually, one of our songs, Alien, was the very first song that we ever finished as,
Wow.
As our group.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things. We finished the song, we were like, wow, there might be something more to this than just, a school project that we're both working on.
So how did it become a quartet? Now, this is not the original lineup either, right?
Right. We mainly started as a duo just to get our music out there as soon as we could. We added a quartet as soon as we could, just to help fill out the sound. So, we sort of cherry-picked some of our favorite players from our friends' bands and just tried to gather the best musicians that we could.
Mm-hmm. And was this happening while you were in Boston or when you had come back to Rochester?
When we moved back to Rochester, actually, yep. We played as a duo for probably the first 6 months that we were back in Rochester, and then we started working with a bass player and a drummer.
Cool.
Yeah.
When you guys were first working on the project, Marty, you mentioned you're influenced by the Beatles. I mean, they were they actually are rock gods, but they were your rock gods too.
Sure.
What were both your kind of personal songwriting influences, and then how did those work their way into the band?
Well, so I would say, at least for me, like I said, I've never really been much of like a vocalist or a lyricist, so songwriting for me is just always sort of manifested in my guitar playing and kind of like exploring different avenues of playing, but always within the structure of like the 3 to 5 minute pop song. I really prefer that format because I just feel like it's the ultimate challenge to try and say something that's profound, even if you're just saying it instrumentally, to say something that's profound or that resonates with people, but to keep it concise and to keep it short. So all different kinds of influences, like Latin influences and stuff, that I find that popping up in my playing. So that really informs that side of it for me, at least.
Yeah. For me, I suppose one could say that your songwriting influence comes from any and every song you've ever heard. Mm-hmm. But definitely we'd like to stick with the pop format, just generally speaking. That's how we like to structure our songs. Sometimes there's exceptions, like the first song that we're going to start with is sort of just a mantra. We just kind of repeat over it and meditate on it for a second. So sometimes songs just write themselves, like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and can't even write fast enough,
Yeah.
But then other times it is more structured, like pop. But then we have influences of all different genres, like he said, Latin, jazz. There's a bunch of stuff.
So how do you guys kind of bring your songs to the group? Do you workshop everything at once, or do you both just sort of write stuff, toss the charts to the other guys, and roll with it?
I guess it's probably a blend. Like we'll try to make sure that everything that we want to bring is sort of solid on our end. It's actually nice to do the duo because we can kind of woodshed it in front of an audience almost, or even just kind of solidify our parts with ourselves before we even bring it to the guys. And then we'll usually bring it to the group in rehearsal and just kind of let them go. We might have an idea for how we want drums or bass to sound, but
usually we let them make their own part and see what they have to offer. So.
Can you introduce the bassist and your drummer in your band?
Yes, our bassist is Pete Zamniak, and our drummer is Chris Dubuc-Penney.
Chris, you and Matt Bevan Perkins should form a band together, so it can be the band name would be 2 Drummers, 6 Names. I think that would work.
Oh.
No, it's not bad. I was looking at that and I'm like, this name format looks familiar for a drummer. So, I don't always ask about band names, but I will confess to a curiosity about this one.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what this is? Because I have no idea.
Sure. Well, so it's maybe the other big influence from my dad, other than the Beatles, was Seinfeld. And so George, the character George, when he lies about his identity, he uses the name Art Vandelay. And that was a collaboration. Like, I always liked the name, I always liked the phrase, but when we're discussing names, Katie had the idea of putting the T in front of it. So
yeah, it was a little bit like copyright, I don't know, but also like let's make it a fun play on words too, and just I don't know, make it weird and fun like we like to. So
I was curious because we've had some interesting band names on the show, and I looked at this like, okay, I gotta ask about this one. So after this Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight, Tart Vandelay is going into a little songwriting and recording cave. So Can you tell us why you decided to do this now, and how can we sort of expect the material to change going forward?
Good question. Well, the material is not going to change like crazy drastically. It'll still be us and like our crazy vibe that we do. It's just going to be a little bit more streamlined. And we're sort of like lyrically, we've been exploring a certain realm of topics, and we're sort of moving on from that, just to something just different. So we're gonna.
It just needed some time and space to do that.
Yeah, we've been gigging pretty heavy. I mean, anywhere from like 3 to 8 gigs a month for a good 2 years now, and just kind of feels like it's time to
pull back a little and regroup, revamp, and
cool. Well, you guys have got through the bulk of the questions, so congratulations. So we have this little section that I call the lightning round, and I think we're 2 or 3 weeks in a row where it's like the same questions, because usually it changes week to week.
Okay.
So I think we've got this down. So the big questions, so take your time and come up with answers. I'd like each of you to answer. If you could accomplish one thing in music and be happy, what would it be?
I mean, it sounds fairly basic, but turn it into a long-term career.
Yeah.
You know, just make a living off music. That's our goal. That's my goal anyway,
Yeah.
I should say.
I think in addition to that, it would just be like really, I don't know, it would probably happen over a bunch of different like moments in time, but just seeing the result of our music touching and helping other people's lives. We really try to like, we like to have fun with it, but we also really want to like touch the soul and really get in there. So it would be nice to know someday that I really made a difference positively in somebody's life through our music.
Cool. So I know you're going away from playing in Rochester for a little bit, so I mean this question in a more global sense. If or when you leave Rochester, how would you like people to remember you and your music?
That's a great question. We just try to get along, I guess. I think that's a big thing I've noticed with musicians is, and being in a creative career is just like, being punctual and being polite goes a long way. We all have different ideas and different skills and talents, but I've just noticed that working well with people is something that I really enjoy and really makes the work go a lot better. So like I said, that's how I'd like to be remembered. I can't promise that I would be, but
Yeah, I'd say that's our goal, just like I hope that people see how hard we work, but also I hope they remember our music as sort of fun, or at least like introspective a little bit, and just honest. Like we're just trying to be really honest with our music, and that's a tough question.
It is.
That's a good question.
That's why we asked them here. So you mentioned you mentioned kind of the goals you have for your music, and Marty, you teach guitar too, so I think you might be a little prepared for this one. Do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Sometimes the hardest part is just not stopping. Just like it can be so easy to just feel like, all right, I'm just, not going to do this anymore. But it's so fulfilling when you keep going and you have more moments of just like, it doesn't even have to be that successful of a show or a moment, but just like, I don't know, really knowing that you inspired somebody, or even just playing well feels good to my soul. So.
Yeah. I would say that to like an aspiring artist that wants to make a go at it, I mean, I meet a lot of people who the issue is very polarizing as far as like, it's a business or it's art, and I would just advise anybody to try and find, the middle ground there, because I really think that you have to think, with all the digital tools at our disposal with technology, you have plenty of opportunities to be, a self-sufficient entrepreneur. And if you're not thinking about your art in terms of incorporating those elements, then, you may make great art and you and a couple people around you may hear it, but, you have to think about using what's at your advantage.
Guys, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm Dan Gross. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight, and don't turn your dial. We got some Tart Vandelay coming your way.
Try my best to get ahead. I'm gonna try. Go on my A pair of lovers hid under cover. Two are one and both the same, cautious, but the feelings inside them say, how hard could it be? Their passions calling, they're scared of falling, but waves that cut against the grain leave a longer lasting impression. So how hard could it be? 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 Their work is showing, but they keep going, rolling with the changing tide, staying afloat but trying to rise above. How hard could it be? And now they're certain this path was worth it, running over the finish line, looking back to when they first asked themselves, how hard could it be? How hard could it be? How hard could it be? Oh, do you ever feel like you're out of place? Or are you someone who ridicules the strange? You never know what they're going through. Now go give a dog a bone. And if you feel like you're being misconstrued, when all the world is inside your head, not you, we are all one in the same respect. So know that you are not alone, 'cause we're all the same. that doing something you don't want to will only hurt ya. I need to make a decision, but time is spinning, and now I'm spinning. But life will yo-yo the way it's supposed to, so letting go of all my fears, need to let the planets and spheres spin, spin, go with the flow, let my orbit carry me where I need to go. Spin, spin, look fear in the face and know that everything is gonna be okay. Spin, spin, go with the flow, Your handsome face is too cute